The Night Manager Season 2 was worth the wait, and it sets us up for the next season. I predicted early in the season that Roper was going to be alive, and so much evolved over the course of the season. The opening image of the Season 2 finale is Teddy in the shower, which is a symbol of his rebirth. When we initially met his character, we were made to believe that he was the villain of this season, and his complicated relationship with Roxana added a lot of layers. This image alone is a metaphor of the entanglement that these three get into. Roxana, who's played by Camilla Morrone, is definitely a breakout star in the series, and her character actually ends up being the one who's most similar to Roper himself, because she turns and she joins Roper. In fact, it's her declaration that it's not her heart that has turned that exposes Teddy. And the rules by which Roper operates is shown in that scene with his dogs. Roper discovers that his dog's collar has been bugged, and he executes his own dogs because they betrayed him. Obviously unknowingly, but he has no tolerance for anyone who gets in the way of his own goals, which is self-preservation. But Matthew Ellis, aka Jonathan Pine, is able to get to Teddy and get him on his side. So they end up working together to divert the plane. And Pine becomes a first-hand witness to all of these children that are going to be used as weapons to ignite this war that will start the regime change. And throughout the season and the finale, we see that there are multiple double crossings and team switches, most of which are fueled by the manipulation of fatherly love. And in a twisted way, even Pine and Roper. Because Jonathan Pine and Richard Roper are intoxicated with the game of hunting each other. In the finale, Pine cuts ties with Roxana, who has been used as a pawn by the three men throughout the course of the series. Although Jonathan Pine inspires loyalty and is able to build a team, people like our MVP Martine, Sally/Jane, and Angela Burr all work together because they're trying to take down corrupt British intelligence and those working with them in Colombia. And despite Matthew Ellis, aka Jonathan Pine, trying to help Roxana, at the end of the day, she's there to protect herself. And Roper needs to settle millions of dollars in debt to Syria, who let him live. But Roper's downfall is actually his fatherly sentiment. It just happens to be in favor of Danny, and Eduardo, aka Teddy, ends up being a casualty, because the law by which Richard Roper lives his life is that nothing and no one is so precious that it cannot be sacrificed, including his own flesh and blood, or the unknowing, and especially not the innocent. And all of these people are still working to take Richard Roper down. Angela Burr tries to get Sandy to provide more evidence to connect Myra and Roper, and Myra has sacrificed her own as well. Just as it's starting to seem as if Pine could be successful in taking him down, he has to warn Teddy to show total devotion to his father, like a dog, otherwise he'll know he's lying. But that scene when Roper shoots his dogs dead proves that even blind loyalty isn't enough. In the jungle, Pine uses manipulated recordings from his surveillance and changes the backstory to these photos in an effort to sway Jose against Roper. And Teddy finally exposes his double crossing against his father. Roper even prompts him to shoot him in the head, but ultimately Teddy can't do it because the person that we met at the start of the season is not who he is in this moment, because it's still that father and son dynamic that ends up being his downfall. So while Roper can admit that Pine is good, at the end of the day, he's still a step ahead. Angela Burr at this point has shown her cards to Myra, has threatened her even, but their whole plot leaves them empty-handed. And the head of the Colombian Supreme Court is left with nothing but a single red rose, because it's just decoy cargo. And Jose gets the British weapon that he was promised to start their war. And Roper shoots Teddy, his son, in the head for that betrayal. Jonathan Pine narrowly escapes with the help of Martine and Tavo, who's one of the boys that he saved earlier in the season, and Martine ultimately sacrifices himself so that Pine can get away. Pine is shot down, he's bleeding, and vultures are swarming in. Angela Burr ends up getting shot and killed in the front of her home and is discovered by her young daughter, and Roper gets to pick up his son Danny, who is actually happy to see that he's alive. And it's over the radio that we hear news updates that the death tolls have risen. Roper gets to go to the compound with his son, and Roxana finally gets the opportunity to go home because we see her at the airport. And she is spared because she is most like Roper, all about self-preservation. As almost everyone else who ended up helping Pine ends up dead in season 2, as Richard Roper lives on. I absolutely love The Night Manager. I feel like so much happened in this season. The acting was incredible across the board, and I really felt the sacrifice of all of the characters that believed in this mission. And I love seeing the evolution of these new characters that were also introduced. And this twisted dance between Richard Roper and Jonathan Pine is not over. Season 1 and Season 2 ended up being extremely interwoven, And I absolutely love seeing Tom Hiddleston play so many different identities. And we got some really iconic scenes and a really primal question and test of good versus evil and the consequence of wanting it all.